So I've been told I've got to watch this video. I don't know what it is. So we're recording my reaction apparently. So let's see.
Welcome back, everybody. Joe Everest, the fence expert.
Joe Everest.
We've got a little bit different twist on the video reaction series. We actually had someone email us in a video link, a YouTube link, for us to review as part of this series. And I love it. So if you guys are out there on YouTube land and find a fence-related video you think I should see,
Guy loves fences.
Joe at thefenceexpert.show. I'd love to see it. So without further ado, check out this recent submission. All right, so this video is titled The Bug House Fence, My Wildlife Garden. Already interested in the title.
It's like him watching me, watching me, watching him.
I already like where this is going. You know, there's already a theme established here. It's very eco-friendly. You know, if we're talking about like sustainability or sustainability, maybe is that the term?
No.
But basically making sure that we incorporate things we build into the ecosystem around us. Seems like that might be where this is going, and I like it.
So this is where it started on the creative.
Me watching me, watching him, watching me.
Wildlife fence, whatever you want to call it. Obviously, I wanted a fence.
All right, so I have to check out the channel a little bit more, but just going off the accent, it sounds like this might be taking place over in the UK.
You are correct.
If you guys follow the channel, you know we like UK fence builders a lot. Already off to a smashing start.
But rather than just wasting that space, it's like, how can we give a bit back to nature? So this was the original one, just on the front of the garden. I filled it with things like rocks, rolled up paper, logs.
He just looks a bit perplexed at the moment.
Here.
All right, so that's kind of interesting. So it's a dual-purpose fence. Obviously, it's providing privacy from it's right on the street. So providing privacy for the backyard from the street, from passers-by. It looks like it's filled with just a variety of components as he's discussing. Held in with chicken wire. So hopefully it's strong enough to hold. That would probably be one concern I'd have. I mean, it looks like structurally it's fairly sound, depending on how it's attached to that concrete wall. But like I said, obviously a very interesting, a different style of fence, but it's something that's fairly interesting.
Whatever really wants to go in it, and you could just put logs in, but if you then drill holes in logs, then you get even more habitat. So that's a really worthwhile thing doing. Pine cones are good, and I like pine cones. However, every time they get damp, they close, so they'll keep dropping down. If we go to this next bit,
and that's probably a fair thing to think about is. And probably you'll see this with the logs and stick too. As they decay, you know, they'll start to fall.
It's not so much the decay; it's the closing when they get wet. The close when they dry down.
Simply refill it from the top, maybe. I would assume that's probably how this is done. The structure's put up.
So yeah, obviously we're saying decay. That's not proved a problem particularly. And pine cones seem to last forever. Because it's when they dry out they open, but when they get wet they shut. So they kind of go from big to small, so drop down. That's the thing with that.
Work wires put up, and then the filling is added from the top. You could always top it off. Now, one thing that freaks me out a little bit.
It evolves though.
I'm not a big fan of snakes in general. Actually, I have no use for snakes. Now, listen, I understand. Snakes can be beneficial. They eat mice. They do this. Okay. Still terrified of them. Like I agree that snakes do have a purpose in this world. I just don't want them in my part of the world. They still freak me out. So that's when I'm looking at this, I'm thinking this looks like a perfect habitat for snakes.
Obviously, we're UK. We get grass snakes and adders, but I have never seen one. What I love is a slow worm, but I think they tend to. You do get them north a bit, but they're more down south.
As well.
this is an example where this was an old sycamore tree. Now it works really well, loads of branches left. But if you just filled it, it would all drop down, so you don't want to do that because it'll spread. So what you do, you put these braces in every so often, staple on both sides, and that just holds it all together. So all the gaps.
That's not actually something I had thought about, so that's a good point. So as all of this settles to the bottom, it would put pressure on that chicken wire out, so he's provided stability kind of on the mid-section, mid-width, all the way up. Great thought.
In there work really well. You'll have spider webs, all sorts of things like that. It doesn't have to be a set criteria what you fill it with. Problem was then, I liked the idea, and like with all ideas, you want to expand them, but then I had to do the rest of the fence, which I'm very pleased with, but it takes a lot of filling. So you walk along here.
That is a fair point. Like, imagine how many limbs and twigs and pine cones that it's going to take to fill up this fence. Quite a lot, I would think.
So that the sycamore bit particularly, I got that from a gardener friend who cut down some sycamores, and when it first arrived, it filled it. So imagine a normal car-sized drive. It filled the drive across, and it was about as tall as me high. Now it was branches, but I just chopping up, and it just disappears. Which it's good for getting rid of stuff if you want to get rid of it, but if you want to fill something, not so good.
You've got one bit here, so I drill holes even in these structures just to give them more habitat. That'll be a masonry build there where it's got the mud. You get other ones where they fill it with leaves, all different things. So again, you can see different habitat. But what's working really well here, which I'm really pleased with, is I've let the ivy come through from the other side.
So, the ivy, I absolutely understand. Like, it's a good green barrier, right? So it's keeping with the theme of sustainable type structures, making them part of your surroundings. In traditional fencing, whether we're talking about chain link fencing or wood privacy fencing, ivy is absolutely a bad idea to let grow up on a fence. At least if you're in an area where it freezes regularly. So where my mind goes is that's going to add an incredible amount of weight to the fence. Should it get really wet and then freeze, it would likely, like I said, add a ton of weight to the
UK, not an issue.
fence and could ultimately end up bringing part.
Obviously, if it was Canada, somewhere like that, we get a frost, get a bit of snow, but very limited. Add to that to city garden, and cities are natural sort of greenhouses due to all the concrete and pollution, unfortunately.
Fence down. Now, in talking with the fellow builders over at D&J Projects over there in Nottingham, it doesn't sound like they get strong winters. So maybe freezing isn't an issue. And if not, perfectly fine.
Eventually that will cover all the wall. And even though it's interesting texture now, eventually it'll be an ivy wall, but behind it you've got all that habitat which the creatures can live in. Again, you've got gaps, but the gaps are okay because, again, spiders and things like that, it doesn't need to be solid. This was just loads of...
Kind of what this reminds me of too is older agricultural fences. Throughout the Midwest we see a lot of ag fences where the corners are actually built with rocks. So kind of similar concept, not really chicken wire, but a farmer would at the corners of the property form up a round structure, usually with some sort of welded wire.
I have seen that, and I'm sometimes wondering, did I get the idea from that without realising it? But I have seen them because they use them as like for buttressing areas and stuff like that. So I have seen that. Yes, I know what it. Yeah, we're on the same page.
And then all the rocks that get found in the field get put into the corners, and makes for an incredibly strong corner. I don't know, just something. This kind of reminded me of that.
Leaf litter, Christmas tree here, egg cups, another Christmas tree, pine cones. This is probably my favourite one, but it is hard work to do because you get the logs and you chop them up, that's fine. But then drilling holes, which sounds quite easy, but do it 1,000 times, it gets quite repetitive.
That is a tremendous amount of holes to try to drill in anything.
However, I am pleased with this, and all I do is staple this side and staple the other time. That stops it dropping down, because as it dries out, it wants to drop down. That prevents it. Now, I don't like how I've done this one. It doesn't look as good. However, the method is the best method to do it. This is, if I was to say, of all the way I've done it, this is the best method to do it. So, you can see these, even though I haven't filled these very well, I think my patience level was maybe a bit low on the day. But what I've done is create windows, bricks as it were, and that way you can build them separately.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, you build them section by section. So with these different cells, probably builds it a bit faster. Might even be a little bit stronger just having so much support. Downside is keeping that top full, maybe.
Away from the fence, fill them up at your leisure, and then you can build a fence with the bricks. And what that does, it will make, these are all quite similar textures, but you could do, cardboard, straw, rocks, logs, and it'll just make it really interesting. And it's definitely the easiest way of doing it. So even though I don't like these and how they present, that is the way to do it, with the bricks. Like how it was there, but with the bricks. And then hopefully you end up with a really beautiful fence, which is going to give a bit back to nature while doing the job of a fence. Perfect.
Very good. I like this fence style a lot. I mean, it's not something that we would commercially produce, right? I have a feeling there was.
I have thought about, could it commercially produce, but I really don't know how it could. If anyone's got some ideas for that, that'd be great, but I don't know how to be able to make it to the extent where you could do, I mean, ideally I'd do it in like panels and stuff like that, but I just don't know how to do it on that scale.
Tremendous amount of labor involved in building that fence, but in terms of a custom one-off fence, I like it a lot. You know, it gives back to the local ecology, the local environment there. It gives all the creepy crawly and bugs a place to live because they're beneficial too. I think my wife might have a little bit of hesitation about having the creepy crawlies be that close to the house, but each their own. Let me know what you think about the fence in the comments below. I'd love to hear back from you guys. I'd love to chat with you guys in the comments. It's always enjoyable for me to keep up with you guys there. So leave me your thoughts and suggestions in the comments. Until next time, I'm Joe Evers, the fence expert, reminding you that good fences make good neighbors.
Ah, that's pretty cool. Very cool. Gotta be pleased with that, haven't you? Glad you liked it. Hope you like it. Definitely going to be building some more. Well, definitely going to build some more. If you want to comment, like, subscribe, that'd be great.